I'm S.T. Webster, and I'm your host for our program, East Palo Alto T-Ball Pitching Machine. And I'd like to welcome Gene Tate, who is the founder and coach for this program here in East Palo Alto. And also he has a location in Las Vegas, Nevada. We would love to hear the history about the T-ball machine, T-ball pitching machine here in East Palo Alto, Gene. And thank you so much for taking time to share with us.
Well, we want to thank you for having us here. The T-ball pitching machine program we started in 1992.
I feel that was a very good explanation of society as a whole and what's going on right now with high school and how people are being judged as what they are currently.
That is correct.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Roy Blitzer, and our show is Ask Dr. Business. The purpose of our time together is to give you information and insight that will help make your work life a little more rewarding and exciting.
Do you think that we would be able to social distance during school?
No.
Probably not.
Feedback loop, it gathers data, makes decisions, gets feedback on the results of those decisions, and then makes more finely tuned decisions the next time?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the many of them are used in something called supervised learning, where there's a task like, say, distinguishing dogs from cats.
And this is Movie Talk. Just tuned in, and you just saw a trailer from filmmaker Lawrence Brahm, and that was Searching for Shangri-La. So tell us a little bit about that process. You finished that film, and then was there some going to film festivals, shaking hands with popular people, producers? How did it go?
You know, pretty upset and pretty concerned, and you know, the media is very, very vocal about this. The opera's closed, the symphony's closed, schools are closing. I guess in some places they're saying if you have more than 25 people in one group, that's too big of a group.
The stereotypical immigrants, right? I mean, if someone were to look at you, Jennifer, or you, Cecilia, I don't think they would automatically think, oh, here's an immigrant.
I know. I'll go to the theater. Because that would bring excitement to anyone, right? And then, of course, unbeknownst to him, he gets involved in murder and intrigue and mystery. There's a love interest, and his world kind of takes a spin, and we all go on that adventure with him.
Okay, okay. So, Chris,
Yes.
tell us about Richard Hannay and what drew you to this role in this play.
No, I mean, come on. I mean, I'm only human, and
Oh,
I've been.
come on, you're a lot more than human.
I am.
He is.
You're right.
Is
But
he like a bionic man?
you know, it's just
Wow.
The problem is our sex is too good.
And obviously, playing at Stanford, you got to train and play against some of the top players of the past 10 years in the NCAA. How did this help prepare you for the NFL?
So coming from Georgia, which has a completely different football culture than the West Coast and California, and just the type of game you're playing, being able to adjust to different scenarios, being able to adjust to different cultures, and to kind of do it without, like, you know, having that much family around. It's interesting because, you know, there's a lot of different things that you have to deal with as a football player, and as a professional football player, going from team to team, shoot, even country to country in my case. So just having the ability to adapt is one of the skills that I'm most thankful for, going from Georgia all the way to Stanford, along with the academic prowess that Stanford has.
Tell us a little bit about what you mean when you say living in the moment.
Sure. I hope to promote optimism with my art and bring happiness to the houses or wherever they are hosted. What I mean by living in the moment is really being present, having all your senses fully aware of what's going around you, and not thinking about future or the past. We oftentimes tend to be so focused about future that we forget to enjoy the moment.
And to that point, let's not forget that literacy is not something that's championed in a way of saying, hey, I have a problem, I can't read. And this is not just for kids, but this is also for adults. No one's going to say, hey, I don't know how to read. It's something that's shunned upon. It's something that people don't feel comfortable acknowledging that. My grandmother didn't know how to read, but she made it somehow. And I was shocked to hear that revelation, but that was her truth.
How old is your grandmother
Well, she
now?
passed. She was 74. And she worked in Montgomery Wards. And when they shut down in Daly City, they shut down. She worked in the linen department. But she didn't know how to read.
I think solutions are not only essential to our own fate and that of our children and grandchildren, but frankly also to our mental health.
Yes.
We better do something about it.
And when I talk about the transformation of civilization, this painting behind us hints at where we could be going.
So please go into more detail about how you started. Did you start as an intern?
Great question. I'm proud to say that I started in the in the United Talent Agency mailroom, which was a rite of passage in Hollywood. An agent, a friend of mine, got me the job, and so I started in the talent management business.
Powerful, powerful story. Powerful story. Seema, your evaluation?
I'm actually speechless. That was an amazing, powerful story. And it didn't even sound like a speech. It sounded like a poem.
Well, he was telling us a story. And a poet, I hear the poetry, yes, absolutely.
Yes, very well structured. I mean, he met his objective of storytelling within his speech.
Now, that's what they call empowerment. And you go, girl.
Yeah. So it was really challenging because the military as a whole is very male dominated, but there are certain departments or sections within that are more heavily male dominated than others. For example, as you know, the admin world, you'll probably see a lot more women in that field than with mechanics, or the medical field has a lot more women than the field of ordnance. That's what we called it.
Gregory Strang and Suzanne Sims coming soon. It's nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you. How are you doing this evening?
Terrific. I'm so happy. That was a terrific performance.
Thank you. Hey everybody, how you all doing tonight? Took back. This is something we do. It's called, as you can see, our name is Coming Soon. We book ourselves as a romantic musical comedy duo, and hopefully some of our stuff was enjoyable that we were doing that was romantic and funny.
Top. And exhale, bring your hands down through heart center. So pause here. You can keep your eyes closed, stay connected to your breath.
Darlene, tell us about how you and Stephanie got started on her memoir, and in general, how you work with a writer who's at the very beginning of the process.
I asked them a lot of questions about just some really basic questions that a lot of memoir writers don't think about. I asked them, what is your book about? What is that one thing that it's going to be about? It won't be about your whole life. It'll just be about a slice of your life.
In your report, Michael, you break down explicit bias into a couple of broad categories. So let's start there. There's people who have affiliations and just plain racists who are in the police department. Do I have that right?
Exactly right. And basically what I started the report discussing that I found interesting was when I was preparing to go undercover in white supremacist groups, my superiors warned me that you're doing this as part of a joint terrorism task force with other federal, state, and local law enforcement, and there's a history of subjects of domestic terrorism cases having relationships with law enforcement and law enforcement sympathy for those viewpoints, so you have to be particularly careful.
First, I'd like to welcome everybody to this historic panel that we have here tonight on social justice and race in the Silicon Valley area. It is my distinguished pleasure to be the co-host with Professor Allison Hobbs from Stanford. I want you to really understand that tonight is truly historic. We have the mayors from East Palo Alto, and Menlo Park with us. We have a new generation of leaders in the building that have done some amazing social justice work in this area, and we're excited to hear them. Along with that, we have some sage voices that have had their hand to the plow working the social justice for a long time. And we have some dedicated public servants and two of the police chiefs, both from East Palo Alto and Palo Alto, that have been progressive in moving forward.
The Boys Who Said No is the film which covers Vietnam from a different perspective, because obviously we do have a lot of documentaries about Vietnam, but this one brings us the issues that are very much connected with our local community here in Palo Alto, but also in the Bay Area. So Judith, tell us a little bit about the film and also your connection to this area that we all live in and really remember what happened in Vietnam.
Well, this film is about the resistance movement to the Vietnam War, and these were the guys who went the furthest in terms of sacrificing their own lives to stop the war. They were the ones who stood up and said, I'm not going to fight, and I'm not going to cooperate with the Selective Service, and I'd rather go to prison. And many, 4,000 went to prison, and 50,000 plus, we don't know the exact numbers, were indicted.
Take your blocks aside, 1 block or 2 block. Come to your hands and knees. Spread your fingers really wide here. And start arching your lower back. I'm sorry, rounding your lower back. Round it up. Round your middle back up. And round your upper back. And then tuck your chin in. Now start arching your lower back. Then arch your middle back, then your thoracic spine, and now turn your cervical spine up, look up, and then start rounding on your exhale again.
Door screen. She wanted that cross court pass, did not make it a wise decision. Latu inside, layup good and a foul. Malia Latu goes to the line to make it a 3-point play.